Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I hope that you all are fine. This is going to be my 32 lecture. In my last lecture, I started the new topic that was some of the ways to begin presentation with. From that topic, we discussed its one subtopic that was asking questions. And in the last, if you remember, I gave you an assignment to work on, and that assignment was all about the selecting a topic and then developing at least three questions in connection with the topic. I'm quite sure that you must have developed at least three questions that can help you in arousing the interest and attention of your audience. Right now, I'm going to discuss the second way to begin presentation with. It's very interesting. I like it most. Why I like it most? Because most of us, even when I am the audience or even when I am the speaker, I usually tell different stories to kids, to children, to my audience, to my public, to my listeners, in order to arouse the attention and their interest. You know all that people hardly listen to you. If you start something uniquely, if you start with something that can help you in developing the attention of the audience, then it's really appreciable and it can be appreciated as well. So this is the most adopted way that speakers use when they are presenting any presentation. Right now, this is known as telling stories. So basically what happens in this, you begin your presentation with any story. Now keep this thing in your mind. If there were questions that I told you yesterday, are this is going to be a story that I'm going to tell you, that how one should use it in the beginning of the presentation. These all things should be used in connection with your topic. Keep this in your mind. If you are telling any story that has no any connection, that has no any relation with your topic, and it is irrelevant one, then there is no need of telling any story. Just don't use it. Now if you think that you have got the story which is effective one and which can leave an impact and attention and effect on the audience, then you can use it. Otherwise, please don't. Well, so this is known as telling stories, that people use stories when they are beginning their presentation. Basically what happens, uh, all that we all enjoy stories, especially if they are provocative, if they are dramatic, if they are suspenseful. We enjoy them all. Something that is suspense into it, something that is dramatic one, means it has steps of a drama, that this is how something begins and then reaches at climax and then concludes. We all enjoy all these stories. What wonderful, how wonderful it would be if we may adopt these stories in connection with our topic in our presentation. It will be an amazing way. Well, so so if you are going to begin your presentation that carries a wow factor, that carries a suspense into it, that carries a dramatic factor into it, then it's wonderful. So I'm going to tell you one of the examples of the story that that a student used in beginning of his speech on the topic was the devastating earthquake that struck in Japan on March 11, 2011. This is how the student began his presentation. A young couple clutched their 4-month old baby girl as a tidal wave smashed into their home in northern Japan. The wave, caused by a massive 9.0 earthquake earlier in the day, was simply too powerful. It ripped the baby girl from the arms of her parents and carried her off amongst piles of dabbers. The parents could not stop weeping at the thought of their dead child. 3 days later, rescue workers were combing through mountains of wood, metal, and rock when they heard a faint cry. Working frantically, they pulled the lost baby out of the rubble alive. Her discovery put a new energy into the search. One of her rescuers told the local news crew in a story later reported by Time magazine. Not everyone was as fortunate as that girl or as the parents of who were reunited with her, but as Japan tried to overcome the devastation, any sign of hope was welcomed with open arms. How wonderful, how effective, how arresting this story is. That how beautifully the person has managed to connect his story with his topic. He begins his presentation with the story of a child who was taken away by a great and massive flood in Japan, and later on it was discovered and it was rescued by the rescue team, and it was given back to his family or her family. So when I can I can say this with immense confidence. At the time when that person had told that story before the public, he must have or would have attained the success in his presentation. Why? Because this presentation, this beginning, this story has a string of effectiveness and a string of uh, you know arousing the interest of the audience. So, like many good introductions, this one does a good this one does a double job. It arouses the interest of the audience and gets listeners emotionally involved in the speech. You can also use stories based on your personal experiences. Here is how one pre-med student used such a story. She began by recounting the first time she observed doctors performing surgery in the operating room. Now, one of the students used her experience when she was in an operating room. How did she feel when she was in an operating room? She began her presentation by telling the story, and the story was like this. There I stood wearing a surgical mask in the middle of a large, brightly light room. In the center of the room were five figures huddled over a table. I found it difficult to see since everything was wrapped in blue sheets, yet I did not dare take a step toward the table. Then one of the figures called to me, Angela, get over here and take a closer look. My knees buckled as I walked through the stair environment, but eventually I was there, standing over an unconscious body in the operating room. Once again, a hijacking way, a hijacking story. The girl told how did she feel when she was in operating room. So the effectiveness of this story, especially a personal one, hangs on the speaker's delivery as well as the content. So this is one of the ways through which you can begin your presentation. I hope that up until now it's clear to you. I gave you an assignment in my last class, in my last lecture. Once again, I'm giving you an assignment that kindly develop, prepare, or create any story in relation with your topic, and read it down and remember it, record it, practice it, and do it better. I hope that you will create a story and then you will tell me once this pandemic is over. Till then, stay blessed, stay safe, stay happy. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.